I'm so pleased, and it's such a privilege to introduce tonight's presenters, Adrian Vargas and Robert Powell. These ESPs are from the state of Illinois, and Adrian actually has spent 5 years as a high school English as a second language paraeducator, and he is currently a first-year teacher in the state of Illinois. So congratulations on your first year, Adrian. He serves his union as a building representative. He's a region council treasurer, negotiations team recorder, salary calculator. In addition to that, he's also the new Para Academy trainer. He's an IEA 1 conference trainer and has served as an NEA ESP conference trainer as well. Robert Powell has been an ESP for 14 years. His current role is as special education vocational job coach, and he serves his union as region chair. He's also the IEA executive committee member, lead negotiator, IEA ESP emerging leader trainer, IEA Leaders for Just Schools facilitator, District 205 new Para Academy trainer. As well as that, when in his spare time, he's also the IEA 1 conference trainer and an NEA ESP conference trainer. And then he's also a union support staff VP and grievance chair. So through all of the service work that they do, they have developed a wealth of experience and expertise in team building, and we're just thrilled to have you both with us tonight and can't wait to hear what you have to share with us. So let's get started.
Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
I am Robert Powell and
Adrian Vargas.
Tonight, we're going to share with you team building for all educators, and it's really team building for absolutely anybody in any organization. But since we've been doing work in IEA and had the privilege of doing our first NEA ESP conference, we want to share with you what we did and why we do it, if that makes sense. So when you look at the ESPQ leadership competencies that NEA has, for our session, we do leading our profession and communication, as communication is paramount to any relationship, right? Whether it's our work, our homes, whatever the case might be. So we talk about leading our profession with these activities that we're going to explain to you, and communication. Next slide, please. By the end of this workshop, attendees will be able to, and this is really important, demonstrate the importance of team building activities and understand the impact of collective unity. I'm going to say that one more time. Demonstrate the importance of team building activities and understand the impact of collective unity. What are we doing and why are we doing it? And so tonight we're going to take a huge look at what we do collectively, whether it's a bargaining unit, whether it's a parent, a teacher, whether it's administrative staff. We're going to take a big look at what we're doing and why we do it collectively. And with that said, here's Adrian.
Hello, hello. Good evening, everyone. Once again, pleasure to be here and to, try our best to just teach a little bit of what we know and what we've experienced. And so with these activities that we'll talk about and go through, we have this first one, and the question that's posed to us and to the people, are personalities the problem, right? And so we ask, have you ever been in a meeting, and regardless of what the meeting may be about, and us coming together, such as this one, but people are coming from all over the place, right? From their different days, different experiences, perhaps even their various struggles throughout that day, and also accomplishments, right? So the people are gathering, we're getting into this meeting, and whatever it may be. And so we think to ourselves, or we ask you, have you ever been in a meeting where someone may be disagreeable to what you may have to say during the meeting? Have you ever been in a meeting where people are having side conversations, right? Have we ever been in a meeting where maybe we have fell asleep, or you see someone fall asleep because they've had such a long day, right? Or this is, I can't even say it's a new one now, but, constantly on their phone, most of the time. How many of us are on our phone now? No, I'm kidding. But that's just to name a few, correct? And so what we have here, as what you can read on your slide, is we start off with the activity when we get into our team building sessions. And so we start the activity by handing out these candy bars. We like to use candy bars. And so the objective is we want to decide, which one of these candy bars could be the best brand to sponsor, for your school throughout the year. And so we want to promote it. And so we let the people know that we are going to be at a meeting, and this is our goal to, again, try and promote this candy bar. Again, this is what we like to use, just to, give a little snack there for everyone. And so with these candy bars, they are these personalities that we have on them, and they could just be slips of paper. So again, this is what we use. We like to tape them on the back of each candy bar. And so everyone is not to share what they have. And so on the back of the candy bar, you have, again, this list here in front of you. You may be the leader. And so again, you'll be the leader to convince the team and to promote whichever candy bar you may use. And the other instructions will be, you'll be the person to not say anything. You'll be the person who will be falling asleep. Someone who's going to agree with everyone, disagree, you're going to have a side conversation. Again, the phone, right? And so the instructions are those given. And so the people they don't know, right? They know that they're just going to look at, this piece of paper and go as such and, have this meeting, right? And so without the people sharing that, again, the leaders don't know either. And so they're promoting, they're trying to get, the people together to start this meeting, and people are having all this, we can call it chaos, if you will, in the background. Again, someone snoring, someone on their phone, right? And again, it becomes chaotic in a way. And so we want to see that, because this activity helps, again, in the beginning, for the members to, just get fired up, right? They are trying to talk, trying to give ideas, again, trying to promote this candy bar. And so we do that to get, again, that kind of fire going with the people, right? And we want them to be engaged.
Can I add something to that, Adrian?
Yeah, of course.
We did this activity recently in New Orleans for the National ESP Conference. And with all these different personalities on the back of the candy bar, there were people who were really fired up. One lady came to me and she's like, "That lady is on her phone," not knowing that all these things were on the back of the candy bars. And she was very, very angry. And people were like nervous and watching. And we do that, like Adrian said, to get people fired up, stirred up, but then we break it down after that.
Right. And so with everyone just riled up, we say, hey, everyone kind of reveals what they had on their candy bar, and this was on purpose, right? So we tried kind of simmer everyone down, and then we go into just the reflection piece of it all. And we ask, how did you feel when you saw this person just on their phone, or if they may have answered a phone call, right? And so again, the candy bars kind of helps us also, ease up the tension a little bit. Be like, hey, you got a nice little candy bar there for you. But again, that's our idea, and one of the activities we do, so that we can see those different, again, personalities, perspectives within a group, and whichever meeting that we may ever go to.
Yeah. Next slide, please. Now, the reason why we do that is not just to aggravate people and agitate them, but to come to an overall conclusion, right? No one wants to go into a meeting agitated or angry or ready to fight, right? We have a poll question for you, though. The poll question says, how does one in leadership work with stubborn people? And then there's a couple of answers that you can choose from. Do we have that poll question ready?
Yes.
Okay. How does one in leadership work with stubborn people? Just one choice. Do they take a moment and pause? Do they talk to them? Are they patient? Do they emphasize their point? Do they resist engaging in an argument? Or are they okay with knowing you can't change the people you're having a conversation with?
Robert, can you see the results?
I don't see the results.
Okay. Well, I'll read the results if you're ready.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not sure why you can't see them. Okay, so 30% said be okay with knowing you can't change them.
Mm-hmm.
No one said resist engaging in an argument. 7% said empathize. 26% be patient. 17% talk to them, and 19% take a moment or pause.
Thank you, Kimberly, for reading those for us. So just so that you know, there is no perfect answer to this. Ah, there it is right there.
There it goes.
I'm learning this.
There is no perfect answer to any of these. We just wanted to see what other people were thinking when it comes to how we deal with chaotic groups. But the reason why we make everybody chaotic in the beginning is to take them on this journey again as to why we do what we do. And one of the most important things that we have to remember, write this down just in case, remember this phrase: people are people first, and then they have titles, right? Everybody's a person first, and then they have a title. And just like when we're dealing with our students, when it comes to resilience and understanding where people coming from and past experiences they're having, we don't know what everybody at the table who came to the meeting has on their mind when they come to the meeting, right? But we do know that they are present, whether they are present because they want to be, or they're present because they were forced to be, whatever the case might be. We know that they're present, but we have to remember that they're a person first. And the best way to remember that, could you take that down for me for a second, Kim, or the poll?
You just have to close it on your screen.
Oh, I can close it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Ha. Thank you.
Technology.
Learning, teamwork. Anyway, we don't just want to like stress people out. We want people to understand people are people first, and then they have titles. And here's where we have this picture of the body. We all working together as one body in everything that we do. And one of the things that we like to do, especially in our smaller groups when we're in IEA, when we have really large groups, it doesn't work so well. But you have an image like this. I actually did this with our administrators, Kim, in my school district, where I have them identify the different parts that they play in the body. And as you look at the little graph that we created here, every organization or every organization has a head, right? The head gives direction to the body. Who do you recognize in your organization who has that function? And some people may play more than one role. The head obviously has support, right, from the neck. The head also has ears. Who's the listeners in your group? The people who are paying attention to what they hear, right? The head has eyes. Who's the lookout person for your organization or for your group, for your local, for your classroom? Who's the shoulders in your group that support the neck and the head and also carry a lot of the weight with the arms? Who's the heart of your organization? Who expresses love to everybody? In my local, my president, Deborah Ward Mitchell, who also happens to be this year's ESP of the Year, she loves everybody. And I have to go, Deborah, calm down already, like hold back a little bit. But she makes sure that everybody's thought about in our local, which is, she is definitely she's the head of our local because she's the president, but she's also the heart of our local. And I would even say that she's the arms of our local because she does a lot of outreach and a lot of embracing other people. So as we look at the parts of the body, we want to see where everybody functions in the body and even take note as to where we may function in the body. Mm-hmm. I always say that people always look at ESPs as if they're on the bottom. But I also say that whatever's on the bottom is holding up the top, right? So even the feet who carry all the weight, who the head can't get anywhere unless the feet take them there, right? Everybody plays a role. And you can have as many different body parts or functions in the body that apply to your local or your organization. One of the things that's really important is to understand that even though people have titles and they have roles that they play, more important than their title and their role, they have a function, right? And the function of that person is way more important than that title. Just by well, I can't see your hands, but if you type in the chat me or something, how many of you have people in leadership roles that could not lead anybody out of a paper bag, right? You have people with titles, but a lot of me's came up that quick. We have people with titles, but they just because they have title doesn't mean that's their function. And a lot of times we get angry with people because we feel like they're not doing what their title says. Oh, there's Deborah. They're not doing what their title says they should be doing, right? Well, instead of looking at them according to their title, how about we utilize them in the body according to how they best operate? What is that person's gifts? What are they really, really good at? What do they do well? Instead of highlighting what they don't do well, as members of the body, when we function together, we have a good, healthy body that's operating well. Yes. Does that make sense? I hope so.
I believe so, yes.
Now, real quick in the chat. Oh, yeah. Which part of the body do you see yourself as or identify with the most? If I can just have some folks out there just kind of identify yourself. And maybe I have a part on there that you don't see. Maybe you're the knees, right? Maybe you're the joints that hold everybody together. Mm-hmm. Oh, we got a Deborah out there that's a heart. Jolene's a heart. Laura's the feet. She carries everybody. Nice. Catherine, heart and ears. Ears, eyes, heart, ears, hands, eyes. So listen to this. The ears, the eyes, the mouth, they are very important parts of the body because they alert the body of danger, right? The nose smells smoke. The ears hears trouble. The eyes see danger. And the mouth, when all the other senses catch the danger, the mouth is the one that alerts everybody. So even if you think it's a small function, it's still very important to the entire body. Yes. At work, I am the whole body. Thank you, Letitia, for your hard work and your service. I understand because I wear many hats at my local too. Thank you. Next slide, please.
All right, awesome. So thinking of all these functions and body parts and just, what roles we may have, we jump into this next activity and we always again try and, pose these questions. And so this is what we like to call, can we improve, right? And so getting into this activity, we're learning as a group to identify the best and most efficient way to accomplish this task that, we will give out, that the people will have. We want to be able to, listen to every idea, appreciate those perspectives from the various folks with us. And we always want to, just be encouraged to recognize, that there is always room for improvement. And so with knowing that, again, within our lives, in our workspace, our personal goals, understanding that there is always room for improvement, right? And just that practice making us better. We like to emphasize that, right? Within our just, those team building and within our team. And so what we like to do and what we do in this activity is we gather everyone in a circle, right? Sometimes an oval, depending on our group. And so there's only one expectation or rule, if you will, and it's we always have someone who starts. We have a bag of objects. They're plushies, rubber balls, maybe a rubber football, something small. Again, those kind of stuffed animals. And we have all these sorts of objects in this, plastic bag. And so one person starts, right? And so again, that expectation or rule is that these objects start with one person, and the objects need to get through everyone's hands, right? And so that's what is being told. And so once we start them off, there is a particular way that we start them off. And so what we kind of do, if you can kind of picture it with the different colored people there, with the blue, red, purple, yellow, we kind of try and make a star. And so what we do is we have the first person start and say their name. Hello, my name is so-and-so. And we throw an object across the circle to another person because we want to also get to know their name. And so we go back and forth, right? Hi, my name is this. The other person says, thank you to the person. And again, we kind of make a star within the circle. If you can kind of imagine that. It's a little tough, I know. But that's the only way they try to, again, try and get it through everyone's hands, right? And so at the end, once it gets through everyone's hands, the first person will end up at the end, and that'll be the time. And so we like to challenge those there and say that this can be done in 3 minutes. And literally everyone just gasps. They're like, no way. Like, are you sure? They just don't believe it that it can be done under 3 minutes. And again, just the various times that we've done this. Again, usually with 10 or 15 people, around that number, but definitely doable with more. It usually takes roughly about a minute and a half, a minute 40, right, for the first time. But here the idea is we always ask at the end, can we improve, right? And so they are only able to give one suggestion, and it's only one person, right? Only one person makes a suggestion to possibly improve on, again, the one task is to, we start with someone, has to go through everyone's hands, and that's that, right? And so again, we might hear a suggestion, we'll go through it, right? Again, the importance here is that we take that suggestion, and again, taking that suggestion respectfully and hearing them out, right? Always trying to hear their perspective and what they have. And so, whatever it may be, okay, instead of saying their names, we won't say their names. All we will do is throw the objects in this star form.
Hey, Adrian.
Yeah.
One thing to add to that, after every round, we ask the question, can we improve? And the answer, no matter what, is always, yes, we can, right? and we want to keep repeating that to everybody in the body so that they can know, even though you started with 3 minutes, you came out at a minute 40, we're going to try to reduce the time each time to see if we can be more effective in getting these objects through everybody's hands. And I'll add this one last part, is because these objects represent the work that we do every day. And sometimes we have time limits, sometimes we have, deadlines or whatever the case might be. But the goal is, how can we do this efficiently and effectively? So can we improve? And the answer is always,
yes, we can. Mhm. And again, these objects kind of represent, just those things that we may juggle with, throughout the day and throughout our work day. And so it's really awesome to see, just because after we pose that question, can we improve? Yes, we can. Right? We say, okay, well, the record is actually under 1 minute and 15 seconds. And they're like, no way. Right? No one honestly believes it every time. And so we just get better and better each time, because we ask, can we improve? And we definitely can. Right? And with that suggestion, whatever it may have been from, a member in the group, right? We cut it down. We're like, the record is actually under 45 seconds. It's actually under 10 seconds, right? And again, just doing little things, right? People coming together. Because again, the rule is, the objects only have to start with the one person. Everyone has to, get a hold of it and at the end, right? And so at the end, when we ask kind of, that final, once we get down to the grid of things, and again, people are just, eager to also give their suggestions, and I got one, he or she may have one, right? The record is actually under a second, right? And so again, people are just kind of amazed, and it's great to see. And again, you see there what we did at New Orleans, which was great, and how we started. And again, we all ended up coming together and being able to, accomplish this, this small goal under a second.
One of the other things that's really important with this one is that as people are trying to get these objects through the circle, the first thing they try tossing it, right? If you see me, you may think to yourself, oh, well, that's just Robert, right? But anybody notice anything about my face that's really important? And I'll just give you the answer. I am visually impaired. A lot of times when you see people with glasses, you don't think they're visually impaired, but they are. That's why they have glasses, because they can't see, right? And so imagine a person with glasses and something's coming at them and they have to catch it. No matter whatever their vision is, everybody in the body has something that may be off, or they may not be at 100%, right? And so here's an opportunity for us to figure out, okay, if throwing this at that person doesn't work, how can I get it to them? And how can we better support them in that weakness versus blaming them for dropping the item and making the time go longer? We always want to look at how we better ourselves and better each other in the process, as a unified body, as one who's working to excel, and not just always pointing the blame, right? We can always blame, but can we improve is the overall goal of this activity.
And so we have a poll question for you.
Well, it's just not a poll question. It's in the chat.
Okay. So in the chat, we ask you, can we improve?
Thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. That's what we like to read.
And not only do I do this with administrators or even colleagues, obviously, if it's not very clear, we also do it with our students, right? To give them an opportunity to see their progress. And when we're keeping the time, we just don't keep it and tell them, we write it on the board. 2 minutes, this one, 1 minute 30, the next one, 1 minute 15, the next one, 1 minute 10, the next one, so that they can see their progress. And as they see the progress, if they ever have a setback, then they get even more focused. But how many of us feel good when we see our progress and we realize we can actually accomplish the things that we didn't think we could accomplish before? You know, that's a huge deal to children and adults. So the idea of us being able to improve and believing that we can, oh, that's a whole nother webinar about what we believe about ourselves, right? But believing that we can is really, really important.
Awesome.
Next slide, please.
All right. So here, and again, we're just engaged. We're going through it, right? We like to call this, you know, building a castle, right? Build a castle, right? And again, the idea is that we're getting together, we're building, you know, here literally, trying to build each other up. And so we kind of think, and we want, you know, again, those in our group to think, you know, what are your goals in life? You know, what are, again, you know, just your small goals, your long goals, you know, just your everyday goals, right, in your workspace, for your students, right? And so we want others to just, you know, think about that. And so, you know, again, what we do is we kind of execute a plan, right? We think of those options that we have, you know, what can we do to build on these goals, right? If we can, it's always great, again, you know, to work with our, you know, friends, family, you know, members of the body, right? To just think about those things on how we can build on these certain things. And then in life, right, we just want to overcome, you know, the unexpected, right? And so, Robert, if you want to go for it and explain.
Sure. So when we do this one, you start the activity by asking very important questions. And I'll show you, I'll demonstrate by what I ask my students. How many of you want a beautiful house when you get older, right? And so the kids raise their hands. How many of you want at least a car when you get older? How many of you want a family when you get older? How many of you want lots and lots of money like Bill Gates or Warren Buffett or Elon Musk? And the hands go up, right? So we lay out the cups on the table and we say, these cups are your future, right? And you're going to take these cups, and as a team, you're going to build that future. You're going to build this castle. So your end game, your end goal is going to be that castle on the table. And just like the last game, we give them about 3 minutes to do it. So we give them 2 minutes or a minute or two to talk it out as a team as to how they're going to build the castle. And they're not allowed to just stack cups on top of cups and put cups inside. They actually have to strategically build a fortress, right? And they have to design it. So they talk about how they're going to design it. And then once we give them that a minute or two to talk about how they're going to design it, then we start the timer. And the timer is, you have 3 minutes to get this castle built. And let's say we have about, I don't know, 3 dozen cups on the table. We have a lot of cups on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And so they start talking and they start building and they're strategizing and they're talking it up and doing all the cool stuff. And some people have a design. Hey, let's build a moat here and let's build, you know, and they have all these great ideas, right? And somewhere halfway up the castle, all of a sudden, a hand or a bomb or something comes out of nowhere and destroys their building project. You should see the looks on these faces, right? Have you ever been in a situation where you were working on something really important to you and it just collapsed in front of you? It is not a very good feeling, right? You ever had a goal in mind or something you really wanted to do, and for whatever reason, life happens and those circumstances just kind of devastate you, right? It's not the end of the world. And it didn't necessarily kill you, but doggone it, if it wasn't a blow to my heart and to my mind. And so here, the people get really frustrated and they go, oh, what did you do that for? And we'll say, what are you looking at us for? You have a minute left to get this castle up. And so the minute goes by, Obviously, they don't get the castle up. So we give them another 3 minutes. Okay, let's start again. We're going to try it again. Let's do it again.
Build as high as you can.
Build as high as you can. Again, a hand comes out of nowhere, knocks it down, and they start really getting frustrated. Eventually, the team realizes that even though everybody in the body has the responsibility of making sure the castle is built, they eventually begin to realize that not everybody is responsible for actually stacking cups, because some are builders directly and some are protectors of the builders. And so eventually they began to block me and Adrian and keep us away. So one girl, I got scared for real. Look, I can't think of her name. She wasn't that big either, from New York. I still remember, man, I was terrified. Anyway, they get very confrontational. And you're not going to tear down my castle. You're not going to tear down what we're working hard to build, right? We have to learn as we work as a team to be offensive and defensive. The offensive people are building while the defensive people are blocking all the outside chatter, all the outside noise, all the rumors, all the things that try to tear us down. We have people who block those out while the rest of us are building. So in your body, in your organization, figure out who are the builders and who are the protectors. Who are the people who keep us, who have the ideas to build, and who are the people who keep everybody else away when we're trying to be successful?
Right. Because
we have a poll for you poll question. And it says, what has your role typically been in your position? Have you been offensive or have you been defensive?
Defensive.
Really and truly both, yes. Sometimes that's Audrey. Sometimes that's it. Sometimes I got one hand here, one hand there, a foot up while I'm trying. Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, yeah. 58% offensive, 42% defensive. And that's how it is sometimes. That's the reality of it. But the idea, you know what? The idea is to make sure that everybody is in the role that they play, right? I was not expecting, you can't see, I'm 6'3". I weigh about 265 pounds, right? I'm pretty big. And little tiny young lady, you know, tiny compared to me. She's great in her own right? But she got in my face. And that New York accent came out, or was it Jersey? Maybe she was from Jersey. I don't know.
It was New Jersey.
It was East Coast. It was Jersey. And I was like, you know what? I'm done, right? Make sure you have the right people in the right places and don't minimize, right? It was a David and Goliath situation, and I Goliath my way right out of there because she was not playing.
Yeah.
And that's another part of the body. Who's the backbone of your organization? Who's the strength? Who's the person who's not afraid to speak truth to power? That's really, really, really important. Not everybody is a great speaker, right? Not everybody is able to hold down the microphone or do the presentation. So just because you're the lead, the head, maybe you're the head, but you don't do great presentations, then utilize that person who does to represent the entire body. There's nothing like listening to somebody talk, and it's like listening to paint dry, right? It is the worst. So utilize those people to make the body more effective, and not just to, because I have the position, I'm going to do it. No. We're one body. We are one body.
Right.
Thank you, Kim.
Yeah. And with this activity too, and it's not to take anything away from the offensive, of course, right? We can, all of us be both. But it gets fun a little with the defensive, as Robert was saying, he was a little terrified for a second, but the defensive, and not to take away from the offensive, but when people start getting defensive, it just shows how much they care, right? And how they really do not want us knocking it down anymore. And so they're really caring for the people working on that offensive side and building, because they also want to see that goal being accomplished, right? And so those people on the defensive side can definitely be, part of that heart of the body, because it just shows that they care and they don't want us messing with them at all.
Thank you, Adrian, because that goes back to one of our first statements. What are we doing? And why are we doing it? This is a cup game, sure, but look at all the projects we have in front of us, especially in coming back from a pandemic, back into school buildings and all that other stuff. What am I doing? And why am I doing it? What's my heart behind what I'm doing? You know, that's a very important thing, because you may have heard this before, excuse me, what comes from the heart goes to the heart. And so that's huge.
Yes.
Next slide, please. This activity is, we call it ESPs to the rescue. And there you see Homer Simpson juggling really toxic stuff. And the name of the game we play is called Toxic Popcorn. And am I explaining this one, Adrian, or you?
All you.
Okay. We place a scenario where the school is in danger, right? Somebody from the culinary class and the chemistry class had a great idea to make some glow-in-the-dark popcorn, and that was edible, right? But things went wrong, and now the popcorn is toxic. But not only is it toxic, it's also radioactive. I know about them kids and their experiments. It's also radioactive. And so we have a situation where we have two circles on the ground. And if you wouldn't mind just showing the picture without actually playing the video.
Just yet. Mm-hmm.
You're testing my technical skills now. Okay. Oh, all right. Let me share it differently. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, we can see part of it, but that's cool. We'll show it in a minute. We have two circles on the floor, a big circle and a little one. Sometimes it's an octagon, but most of the times it's a circle. And what you see are people have two cans. One is a safe can, one is a toxic popcorn can. And we give them very specific instructions that no one is allowed to cross over into the circle. This is a dangerous activity, not activity, but it's a dangerous thing that we have in front of us. And because it's radioactive, we can't go past a certain point. And what we tell our group is that, okay, everybody has to work on this. No one can sacrifice themselves to take one for the team and just get it done. Everybody has to work collectively in order to accomplish this task. So you can press play, Lisa, and we'll show you a little bit of it.
Small clip.
What we give them is 8 ropes, an inner tube, and they have to figure out what to do with those 8 ropes and inner tube. And you have people who are standing around who are trying to give instructions from the sidelines. You have people who are working in teams holding ropes on different sides, and they're trying to make it happen without spilling anything on the floor. Not one kernel of corn can hit the floor. Then it kind of goes into a slow motion mode. But they think sometimes when we give them this, it's really impossible. What are you gonna say, Adrian?
No, that was the end of the clip.
Oh, okay. They think sometimes that it's really impossible. Now, for this particular exercise, you can look up toxic popcorn on YouTube, and there's so many different varieties of ways to do it. But again, we come together and we face what's seemingly impossible. And as a group, we make it possible. We want to think through all of the things that we've been through as a body and figure out, okay, how can this get done? Some people throw their hands in the air and goes, it's impossible, I can't do it. Right. But we go back to the question, can we improve? Is there anything that's too hard for us to do? Ladies and gentlemen, we've made it through 2 of the craziest years that most of us will ever experience, hopefully in our lifetime. Hopefully from this moment forward, at least for the next 100 years, we'll be okay. You never can tell though. You know, people say these are uncertain days, but even in uncertain days and uncertain moments and uncertain times, there is one thing that is certain, And that is that all of us have the ability to overcome any obstacle that is set in front of us, right? And as we lead in our profession, in our classrooms, as we lead in our profession with our students, with our colleagues, even with our administrative teams, there's nothing that's absolutely impossible for us to do or overcome. That's really important for us to remember, because as we think about why we do these things, there's an outcome, right? There's an outcome that we want to see. There's graduates that we want to see. There's pleasant, sweet retirements that we want to see. We do these things in order to keep our members as sane as possible and reminded constantly that we can improve, that we can do it, that nothing can stop us. I was partially at a retirement party yesterday, helping set up for it for someone who had been in the profession for 30 plus years or 29 years, something like that. And somebody else, a retirement coming up, 30 plus years, and other people who've been, many years in this profession, right? And they do it, and you have to ask the question, why, right? Why? Because this is what I love. This is what I'm passionate about. And I can overcome absolutely anything. But the awesome part is, and I'll be done before we do our question and answer session, I don't have to do it by myself. There is a collective body of people. And once we identify the functions of those people in the body and not just the titles, we'll be able to operate better as a body and be able to utilize each other better. And then we can celebrate each other even better because we understand how we work instead of what our title is, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Got anything to add there, Age?
Oh, man. No, besides, again, this is just real fun. Again, just one of our many activities, learning about, and thinking about those different roles and functions. And it literally does change for people sometimes through each activity, right? Because, some are, the offense, some are the defense, some are more become like, oh, I need to be more hands-on with this, or, oh, I'll just give out the ideas and, let those who can, just kind of pull those ropes a little tighter, right? And use those strengths. But again, just always building on each other and learning from each other, because you are, witnessing those different perspectives and ideas from everyone around us. And again, just always trying to take that opportunity to learn from each other. And that's just what Robert and I do. We always, when we do these, we always try and learn and improve a little more, because, Robert has been doing it just a little bit longer than I have. But, just seeing those small improvements each time and just emphasizing that, so that others know that we can always improve and build with each other and grow with each other.
Absolutely. One more thing, you can go to the next slide too, because this is where we have our discussion and review. You can use any team building exercises you want to. Those are some of the ones that we use. We have more, but the most important thing to remember is, what are we doing and why are we doing it? And how does this relate to our organization? How does it relate to my classroom? How does it relate to my staff and the people that I work with, me and my administrators? How does it work in my region? I have a saying in my region, Region 27, whoop, whoop, IEA, Illinois Education Association. We have a saying in our region, and that saying is, the dream is working, right? And why is the dream working? Because the team is working. And we are very team oriented. There are no big I's and little U's in our region. Everybody is a team. Because I'm the region chair, there are many things that I can't and I don't know how to do, and I would never pretend like I do know how to do them, right? Because it does the body no good. If we want a successful body, if we want a healthy region, we have to incorporate all the team. listen to this very carefully, and I'm going to stop talking so you guys can ask questions. There is wisdom in the collective, right? Some of you guys ladies and gentlemen, may know Gina Harris from Illinois. She is NEA director. She always says there's wisdom in the collective, right? And so I want to gain wisdom from absolutely everybody that I work with. Yes, not everybody's easy to work with. Not everybody comes to the table with the right intentions, but there's an old poem that says, even the dull and the ignorant, they too have their story. And so you listen to everybody. You listen to everybody, you chew the meat, you spit out the bones. Kimberly, we're done.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Here is their contact information. And again, we'll be sharing this PowerPoint and you will have that information. We'll share that at the end. So we're going to go to Q&A. Adrian and Robert, this was a really informative presentation. Thank you so much. So we are going to address questions that we got in order and until we run out of time. And so please post your questions if you haven't done so already in the Q&A feature. Kimberly?
Thanks, Lisa. Robert and Adrian, that was really fun to just hear your description of all the different activities. The first question actually that comes to mind for me is, could you describe how you have used these activities independently? Can you pull them out? Are there any that you can do on their own, or do you always do them together? And how much time does one need to think about doing this deep dive into team building? I'm sure there might be different ways, but I'd love to hear your thoughts about that.
That's actually a really good question, because any one of these by themselves could take as many as 45 minutes to an hour, because you do the activity, but you're also processing information. We have rounds where every round we want to know what people thought about that round. How can we improve that round? What should we do differently? And it becomes very passionate conversation because everybody also wants to say, hey, you overlooked me, or you didn't listen to that person when they were talking, and they begin to advocate for each other. And so do we always do all of them together? No. We typically try to have 4 when we do IEA and NEA, just because it takes so much time. We did these particular ones at the ESP conference, and we had 2 hours, right?
2.5.
2.5 hours. And we had 40, 50 people. I can't remember. We had a lot of people. So Adrian did one group and I did the other group, and we broke it up. So how many activities isn't as important as getting the meat from the single activity to grow from. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I can see breaking these up and doing, sometimes all that folks have is an hour, once a month, or maybe every 2 months. And so I could see doing bits and pieces of these and then having discussion about it as a really great, fun. And what I loved about your presentation is just how effortless the description of what you did, how you did it, and what it felt like to be in the room. And we need more PD that doesn't feel like here's a book, read it, write these things down, right? Yeah. We want to learn organically and in the moment. So that's what I think is so fun about this work. There's a question from Susan Greco. What do you do when admin expects paraprofessionals to be good at every support role, when some are better at content and some are better at classroom management?
That's a very good question, because that requires transparency and honesty, right? I will let my admin know. Like one year, my admin said, hey, we want to put you in a math class. I said, if you want students to succeed, you will not do that. I can do history, I can do English, I can do a lot of things, you want students to be successful, don't put me in math, right? And that wasn't to, again, that wasn't to belittle what I couldn't do as much as it was to highlight, these are my gifts. And here's where I excel. And here's what I do well. Some administrators don't want to hear it. And some people don't want to hear it. Some department chairs don't want to hear it. You're going to go where I tell you to go. And so even in those situations where you may not be as strong as you would like to be, identify what's really good with you, what really works for you, and have that conversation with your teacher. Because your teacher, I've had teachers, and over the past 14 years, there have been some years where I was juggling teachers, and I had a bunch. I've had lots of teachers, and we've always had very good chemistry because I went in first saying, how can I help you to make this classroom work right? But then saying, here are my gifts and here are my talents and here's what I do really well. And when I have that conversation with that teacher, if you want your kids to succeed, don't put me in math.
There's another question from Anetta. What is key action in team building? What's the key action in team building?
Want to tackle that one, Vargas, or you want me to take it?
Trying to think. You can tackle it first.
Very key in any situation when it comes to team building is the expectation to go in to learn, right? To go in to learn. For me, I used to have a teacher. Her name was Miss Sanders. This is when I was 5 years old, so that was 40 years ago. I was in kindergarten, and my PE teacher, Miss Sanders, used to always say, learn to listen and listen to learn, right? And so when I go into these professional developments, even as the facilitator, I'm still going in to learn from the people who are in the room. Because Adrian can tell you this, every time we've done it, we've had different outcomes with everybody. And we walk away where we're going in to build people up. We walk away going, man, they really taught us something right there. In our last PD, a lady said, hey, I'm not trying to be funny, but you don't even have like a butthole on that body. And there are people in the organization who get rid of the waste. Absolutely, right? There are people who are responsible for getting rid of the toxic stuff. Absolutely. And so if you go in with the expectation to learn and going in also knowing that not everybody is right, it's a win-win. And that's what carries over into our professional lives. When I understand that I don't have the answers to absolutely everything, I'm better for it because I've surrounded myself with a team of people who are way better equipped than I am to handle those things. And we work together. Kimberly, you froze on us. Or is that me?
Thanks.
Oh.
Not sure who was freezing, but I think we're all here right now. Adrian, did you want to add anything about the key action?
I think, I guess just for me personally is just understanding, right? Understanding that everyone does come from a different place, right? And so that we can understand where, where we come from and just knowing that, then we can just be more fluid together, right? And so to me, and again, there's definitely no right or wrong answer, right? But if we can understand each other, understand that we have different perspectives, we can just build on that and just do that team building together.
It's really accepting. I love how inclusive all of this sounds, and it really creates a lot of safe space for folks to come together and be themselves, which we all need. There's another question from Letitia. She says, is identifying who each person is as part of the body of your team something that's done at the beginning, or is this discovered later through team building activities?
It's done at the beginning and throughout. right? Because we walk into a situation thinking, oh, I'm really good at this, or I'm really good at that. But once we figure out the chemistry of everybody together, then yes, I might be good at something, but it's okay if I don't do it because I'm also good at this. And when we come to those conclusions, and that's why I say throughout, we don't bump heads as much. Again, if we go into it collectively with all of us trying to win, everybody wins, then we don't play those personality games, those superior, inferior kind of things. Like one of the things, knock on wood, that I love about my particular building where I work, and also even about the IEA, is that my leadership allows everybody to have a voice, right? And they see where my gifts are and they use me in those gifts. And we work with each other in that capacity. So if at the beginning and throughout, this is who I think I am, but as I go through with this particular group, I grow in different ways and see myself, oh, wow, I didn't know I was able to do that. Or I didn't think I would be good at that. Or I didn't even think I would like that. And turns out I really like it and I want to stick with it, you know? So at the beginning and throughout, because what? Education is a lifelong thing, right? We're always developing, we're always growing.
Always learning.
Always.
You started to address this, but there's another question from Annetta about how do you bridge the gap between teachers and paraeducators? That hierarchy.
Annetta, it's such a, obviously that's a question for the ages. I have been fortunate to have such an impact in my classroom. And there have been a couple of teachers that I had who, when I first came in the room, they were very standoffish or whatever the case might be. But when they saw me operating in my gifts and in my talent, they melted and was like, oh, wow. You know, teachers are people first, and then they have titles. And a lot of people have a lot of assumptions, right? So while I don't have time to kiss up to or beg, I can distill all the myths just by how I live my life in my classroom and how I execute my work, because my work will always speak for itself and people will see who you are before they hear. You know what I'm saying? So that's really the best answer that I have for that. Show them that you can do it. Not everybody will always buy into it, but you also have to remember that the person who doesn't buy into it, or the teacher that doesn't want to accept your gifts, that's not your problem. That's all them. That has nothing to do with you, because guaranteed, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, there's plenty of people who are noticing. And character always speaks. Character always speaks. So people can try to hold you back, but your character is going to speak volumes. Kids will notice that. Other folks watching will notice that. And you'll see who they gravitate towards and who they want to hear from.
Adrian, I mean, it would be great to hear your perspective too, given the fact that you've transitioned
Yes.
from being a para to a teacher. What do you think about this gap?
Yeah. Again, I've been lucky enough to start as a para, and again now transition into a teacher. So when I heard just those stories as a para, like, oh, you know, maybe I don't work so well with this teacher, or maybe they just don't understand where I'm coming from. I feel again, I love just being able to understand where people are coming from, but it is a challenge though. But as Robert mentioned, you know, just being yourself, because you go and do your work and try to your best of your ability, and people will see that, because, you know, again, luckily, personally, my district was eager for me to become a teacher because they saw my work as a paraeducator. And so just they knew my work. And so I guess now, if I ever see, or I try my best to speak, or I was still talk to those my colleagues who still are, and just be accepting, because just because I have this teacher title, doesn't make me more than them, right? And so again, just knowing that, understanding that, and having just a pleasure to work with great people. I'm just happy that I have been part of both worlds.
Mm,
I'm still learning as a teacher, so
absolutely.
yeah.
But I hear so much in what both of you said, this theme of persistence and being true to yourself and what your goals are, and finding those team members, right? Like finding those team members is a big part of it too, that can support you, uplift you, and within that work in difficult situations. I think there's time for one more question. Johnny Green's asking, in the same context, how do you bridge the gap inside a union hall when some staff don't give the same when it comes to ESP?
Oh boy, the questions of the ages, Johnny.
Mhm.
Questions of the ages. Everything. So it's very interesting, because in my district, while I have great leadership, my ESP local is separate from the teachers. They have the faculty association, and we are the union of support staff. And historically, the two have never, ever really gotten along, and we're working to build those bridges. And I have a unique opportunity now as the region chair, where I work with all the locals. And so now some faculty members are like, what are you doing here? Well, I'm the region chair. Very humbly, I'm the region chair, right? And so then again, they get to see, and other people who are part of the region council go back and report to their region, their locals, the things that we're doing. Just let people see, Johnny. I know that that's not the quick answer, but in that same vein, people have to have the opportunity to distill all the myths. Let them see you. Let them see you. Let them see you. And for people who don't want to see, guarantee your reward is coming. It may not come from those who are with you at that moment, but the time will come when you will be able to be elevated and have that even footing with everybody else. But until that time, stay diligent, because it's important. Because if we don't, then we'll always be pushed to the back. So that's just really, really, really important, that we stay as diligent as possible.
Thanks for that, Robert and Adrian. Lisa, I think I don't see any more questions at this point.
Well, I'll tell
And
you,
we're at time.
that was a fascinating conversation, and one that I could have all night. I wish we could unmute everybody and continue that conversation, because there's just so much there. And I'm really, I'm glad that people are thinking about labor collaboration and building strong teams amongst the staff in the schools. I mean, the people who win are the students, right? When we're strong, the students win. So really interesting conversation. Thank you. So this concludes our webinar for tonight. On behalf of the Center for Professional Excellence in Student Learning, Learning's NEA ESP Quality Department, I want to once again thank you, Robert and Adrian, for tonight's webinar, and thank you all for participating. And I hope you all stay safe and healthy. And the code to request a personalized certificate is there on the screen.